about March short and Radic short. Uh, so if you have any query regarding Radic short, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will move to our next topic. If you have any query regarding Radic short, then you can ask me, or we'll move forward to the next topic. Any query? Any query? Saifuddin? Saifuddin, do you have any query?
Sorry, sir, the mic was on. I
Okay,
didn't see that.
okay. Okay, so if you have no query regarding Radic short, so we are moving to our next topic. So we have already covered the different operations on array. So we have seen the different operations like how to insert new element, which is called insertion, then how to delete an existing element, that is called deletion. Then we have seen searching. We have already performed two types of searching, that is linear search or sequential search, and another is binary search. We have also performed the different type of sorting also. Now what is the purpose of this sorting or searching? We have seen that one of the searching technique, that is binary search, is very time efficient order of login, and it requires the array in sorted order. So that's why sorting is very much important. If you make your data in sorted order, then it will be very easy to search the particular element. And remember, there are different sorting, and each and every sorting in your syllabus having its own advantages. So for better, I will always prefer insertion sort, no doubt, because it is one kind of real-time sorting, because whatever data you have at the current moment, you can make them in sorted order. If a new element comes, you can easily put it in its proper position. That's why I always prefer insertion sort. But with respect to time complexity, we can say March short is one of the best, because in each and every case March short always give same time complexity. And another advantage of March short is it is external sorting. Whenever your RAM size is not able to accommodate all the data that you must have to sort, then you can go for merge sort, which will use some sort of external memory. So in our discussion, we have seen that different sorting techniques having different advantages. Now, the next, another very important thing that we should discuss about array, that how array is stored in memory. So far we have discussed 1D array. So 1D array is always like this. Okay. Now what happened if the array is 2D, or if more than 2D? Remember, we can visualize up to 3D. From 4D, it is not, we are not able to visualize them. So 2D is like this matrix, we already know. And what is 3D? 3D is like a you can say a number of pages in a book. Number of pages, one page in a book is a 2D number of pages. So a book is actually giving you a 3D structure, 3D array. So these are different pages in the book, which is itself 2D. So we can visualize up to 3D, but from 4D it is not, we are not able to visualize, but we can allocate memory for 4D, even for n dimension also. Okay. Now for 1D it is very easy, because our RAM is continuous. our RAM memory is continuous like this, one after another memory is like this. So in 1D we will allocate the memory like this. Suppose it is 1D, so I will allocate memory. Suppose I have to allocate 4 memories in 1D. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So up to this it will be allocated. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So it is very simple for 1D. Now if 2D, remember 2D is a logical structure. This is one kind of logical structure. This is not a physical structure. Physically we cannot allocate memory like this, like a matrix. Logically we are thinking that it is a matrix, but physically ultimately we have to convert the 2D into 1D, and then we have to put it or allocate it in the memory. So logically we can think that 2D is like this, but physically it will be ultimately the 1D array. So now the question is how this 2D array will be converted to 1D array. Now there are two different concepts which will be used in different programming languages for storing different 2D array into, or convert 2D array in a form of 1D array. So this is one simple 2D array. Now these are the number of rows 0, 1, 2, 3. These are the number of columns 0, 1, 2. Now we can store this 2D array in a form of 1D array either like this, see, like this, then like this, then like this, then like this. So we are storing one row at a time. So this is one particular row, then the second row, then the third row, then the fourth row. So this is one complete array. So this is one complete array of, this is one complete array of 4 elements. Try to understand, 4 elements. So the outside blue is the actual array A. Suppose this is array A, actual array A. This is A of 0, this is A of 1, this is A of 2, this is A of 3. So A of 0, this row, this row, this row is this one, then the second row, then the third row, then the fourth row. Okay, and this is the whole array A. Now see, each row itself again an array of 3 elements, 0, 1, 2. The second row again array of 3 elements, 0, 1, 2. This one 0, 1, 2. This one 0, 1, 2. So this is called array of arrays. Array of arrays. Why? This is an array of 4 elements. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each element again an array of 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. Each element 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is, that's why it is called array of arrays. So this is the representation of this 2D array in a form of 1D array. Here I have stored it in row measure ways. This is called row measure representation. Why row measure? Because we have stored one row at a time. First row, this one, second row, this one, like this. So that's why this representation is called row measure representation of an array. Now in this row measure representation, how to calculate the position of a particular element? Suppose I want to calculate the position of this element, this one, in row measure. So if I want to calculate this element, see, this is the, what is the element name? The element name is A of 2, 1. This is the name of this element. This is the name of this element. Okay. Now how to So in this particular row major representation, where I will get this array, see, I will get this one I will get. So this is one row, first row, second row, this is in third row and second column. So I will get it in this row, in this position. So this is the element. This is the element that I am talking about. A21. See, A2. This is A2 and this is 1. Okay. Now, if I have the base address, suppose the base address is say A. We already know that array name is the base address. Array name is the base address. So what is the base address? A. Now, what is the address of this element if I want to calculate? What is the address of this element? Now see, this is base address, starting address, this one, base address A. Then I have to move how many rows? I have to move 2 rows. See, there is 2 is printed here. So I have to move 2 rows. What is the size of each row? See, the size of each row is 3 element. So we have to add 2 into 3. Is it clear? See, where this element is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After 7 element, I will get this particular element. So before reaching to this row, this particular row, how many rows before? There are 2 rows. So 2. What is the size of each row? 3. So 2 into 3. I have to cross this first row, then second row, then I have to cross this one. So plus 1. Okay, so this is the 1. This is the 1 I am putting here. This is the 2 I am putting here. And this is the size of each row. This is size of each row. Now this is the calculation for how many element I have to cross. Now if each element is integer, suppose each element is integer, so we know for integer the size is 2 bytes. So I will multiply it with 2. Then I will get the actual address of this element. So this is the way we can calculate the address of a particular position or element in a 2D array if it is in row major. So how? So first I have to write the base address, correct? Plus then we have to write how many rows before. Okay, then into I have to multiply with size of each row, correct? Then I have to plus how many columns before that particular column. Then this will be multiplied with size of each element. Then I will get the address of ampersand will represent the address. So this will give you the address of particular element, say ij. So if I put it in with I and j, then it will be a plus how many rows before I into what is the size of row. Suppose the size of row is, how to calculate size of row? It depends on how many row or columns are there. So size of each row means how many columns you can say. So suppose this is CL, I am writing CL, then plus J, then I will multiply it with size of integer or whatever, so size of say D. So this will give you the actual address of this particular element. Now this is for our type of array representation. Now if the array is represented like this, suppose instead of this, if your array is represented like this, L1 to U1, this is for first dimension, and for the next dimension L2 to U2. What is the meaning of this? L1 is the lowest index value, correct, and U is the upper index value. Similarly, this is for second dimension, this is for first dimension, or you can say the for the row, and this is for the column. Okay, now in our normal array, in C language array, the lowest index value is 0, the highest index value is say n minus 1, whatever. So based on that you can easily calculate the size. So what is the size? If I say what is the size of row, how many rows are there? So it will be like this: u1 upper index value minus lower index value plus 1. This will give you the size of the row. Is it clear? See, if there are say 5 elements, suppose in your array there are 5 elements, what is the lowest index value? 0. What is the highest index value? 4. How to get the size of this? We will get the size of this by 4 minus 0 plus 1. Then I will get 5. So that's why the equation is like this: u1 upper index value minus lower index value plus 1. Similarly, size of column, it will be like this: u2 minus l2 plus 1. Okay, now if I want to calculate the address of I and j in this particular representation of array, then it will be like this: base address plus, now see, I is the position and what is the lowest index value? L1. In our normal array we are calculating like this: I minus 0, because lowest index value is 0. So here it will be like this: I minus L1. Okay, then number of column, so this is the number of column, into u2 minus L2 plus 1. Okay, then we have to move forward for some columns. How to calculate? It will be j minus L2. So this will be multiplied into size of data type, then I will get the address if array is represented in this form. This is for row major representation. Remember, this is for row major representation, and it is very simple. How to calculate? You have to calculate, if the position of the element is I and j, then I minus L1 is the number of rows before, into size of each row. Size of each row means number of columns in that row. So this is the column size I am multiplying. Then number of columns before, j minus L2 will give you the number of columns before. This will give you the how many elements before that particular element. Okay, how many elements before that particular element, that is the I and j element. So this will give you the address of a particular element in a row major representation of array. Similarly, you can calculate the column major representation also. In column major representation, what you have to do? You have to do a different calculation, because in that case how you will put the elements. So for column major representation of this array, it will be like this. So this is your column, one column, then the next column. How many columns are there? See, there are 1 2 3 columns. So these are the 3 columns. Okay, and each column having how many elements? 1 2 3 4. So each column having 4 elements, okay. So this is your whole array, of 3 elements. Okay, this is a of 0, a of 1, a of 2. Okay, and each element is again having 4 elements. Each array element is having 4 elements. Okay, so this is your column major representation. So this element in column major representation will be in this position. This one is the actual position. See, in the first case, before this element there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 elements. In this representation, before this element there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 elements. So the address will be changed in case of row major, and in case of column measure. So here again, if you want to calculate the address of this element, how to calculate, how many columns before, here we have calculated how many rows before, we have to, here we have to write how many columns before, correct? Then size of each column, size of each column means what, how many elements in each column, there are 4 elements in each column. Then how many rows before, okay, then we will this will give you number of elements before this particular element, okay. So here it is a 2 1, so if I calculate, it will give you how many rows before, so this is, so sorry, how many columns before, so this is column value, so how many columns before, 1 column before. What is the size of each column, the size of each column is 4, first the base address, and then how many rows before, 2 rows before, okay. So this will give you 6, here it will give you 7, here it will give you 6, see, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So in this way you can calculate. If it is column measure, if it is column measure, then you will get a representation like this. So this also can be represented in a form of general. So you can say this is general, instead of lowest index value as 0, we are considering L1 and upper index value as U1. Similarly, for this type of array representation, if we calculate the column measure, we will also able to calculate. This is your home task, please do it in your by implementing the same concept you have to implement. Just instead of row measure, you have to think about column measure, how you have to measure the calculation. So this is the representation of 2D array in our memory in a form of 1D array. Remember, again, 2D array representation is a kind of logical representation, and that's why we say that's array of arrays, and that's why I say that this is there is nothing like array. If we try to understand what is array, then physically there is nothing like array. Whatever we are seeing or drawing in a picture, this is not like that. It is a collection of memory. It is nothing but a collection of memory. So what are the main things about array? We say the first thing that we say is array is static memory allocation. Static memory allocation. Now I hope it is clear to all what is the meaning of static memory allocation. We all know that static memory allocation means memory cannot be the allocated memory cannot be modified at runtime. It will be allocated at the compile time. You cannot modify. So allocated memory cannot be modified at the time of execution, or you can say runtime, at runtime. It is not be modified. That is the meaning of static memory allocation. Now, in some of us use array like this. I have seen in when you submitted your assignment, some of you allocated array like this. Now remember, this is a wrong representation. This is not a correct representation of array. For our you can say for easily implement array, we use this type of implementation, and our compiler support this. But this is not, remember, this is not array representation. Array should be declared like this with some fixed value. This must be fixed. Either you have to write it here, or you can use it like this also, where max must be defined, has defined with a size as a preprocessor. Remember this. Array must be in static format. This is called the static format. this is not a static format. Before this statement, you somehow should accept a value for n. It means you are doing it in runtime, but this is not the actual array representation. Array is always static, and the static representation of array is always give it some disadvantages. Now we are going to discuss about what are the disadvantages of array. So this will give you the idea why we should go for a different data structure, why we are not always use array data structure. Okay, so far we have discussed the advantages of array. Now we will go to what are the disadvantages. Now see, the static allocation of memory is one kind of disadvantage of array. Why? See, if my size is already fixed, if I already decided that my array size is 10, it means if we require more than 10 elements, then it will not allocate or not able to perform correctly. Correct? So this is, we can say this is one kind of uh, shortage of memory. So suppose I'm writing a code like this where array is size declared as 10. So I have make the size of the array as fixed of 10 elements, and then I have taking from the user how many elements you want to enter. So this is n is how many elements you want to enter, but already I have fixed the array size 10. It means if I now give input for n say 20, I have allocated a fixed size of 10, but now I am wanting to store 20 elements. So this is called shortage of memory. Clear? Similarly, suppose to avoid this shortage, I have already allocated memory for 100 elements, but the number of elements that I want to access is given by the user is 20. Then in that case, it becomes wastage of memory because I have already allocated 100 elements, but I am only using 20 elements. So this type of thing may happen in case of static memory allocation. That's why we prefer dynamic memory allocation using malloc-calloc. Okay, but this type of simple dynamic memory allocation also allowed nowadays in some of the compilers, but remember this is not array representation. Okay, array must be static. So static memory allocation for array is one kind of disadvantage. Okay, now we are going to the next thing about array, that is called the memory that is allocated by array is contiguous. Try to understand. So we have already discussed that what is the meaning of contiguous. The meaning of contiguous is physically continuous. Physically continuous. What does it mean? It means if it means suppose this is my RAM, this is my RAM, and my RAM is divided into some different segments. At the different segments, my RAM is divided. লাইট চলে গেছে? লাইট চলে গেছে?